Do you ever have that moment where she says, "You're honestly like a brother to me," and your whole chest just drops? You smile on the outside, say something like, "Yeah, same," but inside you're replaying every conversation, trying to figure out where it went wrong. What did you miss? Was it the third date, the fifth, the 100th, 3 a.m. text where you talked her through a breakdown about some other guy? Here's the truth nobody tells you. The friend zone isn't a place she puts you in. It's a role you agreed to play, one script at a time, one favor at a time, until the part became permanent. And today I'm going to show you exactly how that role gets assigned, why most guys can't escape it once they're cast in it, and the actual way out, if there even is one. Let's get into it. First thing you need to understand, women don't consciously sit down and decide, I'm going to friend zone this guy. Nobody signs a contract. It happens through a pattern, slow and invisible. The same way water doesn't decide to carve a canyon, it just keeps flowing the same direction until one day there's a canyon. Every interaction, she's unconsciously sorting you into one of two categories: potential partner or safe companion. And the sorting isn't based on how nice you are or how much you listen. It's not a reward system where kindness equals access. It's based on how you make her feel, moment to moment, text to text. Partners create a little tension, a little unpredictability, a pull she can't fully explain. Safe companions create comfort with zero edge, the emotional equivalent of a weighted blanket, nice, warm, and never once making her pulse do anything interesting. The second you become the guy who's always available, always agreeable, always there to listen without ever making her feel that pull, her brain files you under safe. And once you're filed there, it's really hard to get moved. Not impossible, but hard. The way it's hard to convince someone a restaurant is fine dining after they've eaten there 100 times as a regular. Here's how it usually starts. You meet her, you vibe, and instead of building attraction, you start building comfort too early before there's any tension to protect. You're there for every vent session, every guys are so confusing rant, every 1 a.m. spiral about somebody else. You hype her up about other guys because you think being supportive will make her see your value, that if you're generous enough with your support, she'll eventually redirect it toward you. She'll notice, she'll realize, except she never does, because that's not how attraction works. It's not a loyalty point system where enough good behavior gets redeemed for romance. You laugh off every joke about you being such a good friend. You let it slide because pushing back feels risky. Bro, that's not you playing it smart. That's you training her brain to see you as furniture. Comfortable, reliable furniture, but furniture. And nobody has ever fallen in love with their couch, no matter how many nights they spent on it. Let's talk about the biggest mistake guys make once they realize they're in it. They try to logic their way out. They'll sit her down and say something like, "I have feelings for you. I think we'd be really good together," treating attraction like a debate you can win with a good enough closing argument. And look, I respect the honesty. It takes guts to say that out loud. But here's the problem. You're asking her to feel something using words, and attraction was never built on words to begin with. It was built on how you made her feel over weeks and months. And right now, how you make her feel is safe and predictable. So confessing doesn't create new feelings. It just makes the existing dynamic awkward overnight. She either has to reject you directly, which she doesn't want to do because she actually values you and doesn't want to lose the friendship, or she has to fake something she doesn't feel, which never lasts more than a few weeks before it collapses under its own weight. So what actually works? The first thing is pulling back, not dramatically, not with some fake disappearing act to punish her for not seeing your worth. That's manipulation, and she'll see right through it within a week. What you're doing instead is simply stopping the behaviors that built the comfort in the first place quietly without announcement. You stop being available every single time she texts. You stop hyping up the guys she likes. You stop over explaining your feelings in long paragraphs that only make you sound like you're campaigning for a position. Instead of responding in 2 seconds to every message, you respond when you're actually free, same as you would with anyone else in your life. She says, "Hey, what are you up to?" You don't drop everything and reply instantly like she just pulled a fire alarm. You reply later with something short and normal. At the gym, what's up? That alone starts shifting the dynamic because predictability is the enemy here, the same way a movie with no plot twist gets boring, no matter how good the acting is. Second thing, you start showing her a side of you she's never actually gotten to see. Most guys stuck in the friend zone only show their soft, supportive, listening side because that's what got them close to her in the first place, and they assume more of the same will finally tip the scale. But that's only half of a man, and she's already seen that half 100 times over. You need to start showing the other half too, the ambitious side, the side with opinions, the side that disagrees with her sometimes and doesn't apologize for it. She says something like, "You're always so nice." And instead of taking that as a compliment, treat it as feedback, a signal that she's only ever seen one dimension of you. Say something like, "Nice, sure, but don't mistake that for a pushover," said with a smile, not defensive, just matter of fact, like you're stating the weather. That one sentence does more to shift how she sees you than 100 supportive listening sessions ever will, because it introduces the one thing safe companions never have, which is unpredictability with an edge. Third, and this is the part that scares guys the most, you have to become genuinely okay with the possibility that it doesn't work. Because here's the paradox at the center of all of this. The only way this actually works is if you're not doing it just to win her over. If every pulled back text and every bit of new confidence is secretly screaming, "Please notice me now," she'll feel that desperation the same way she felt the old neediness, just with better vocabulary and a slightly more confident tone underneath it. Desperation has a smell, and women can detect it through almost any disguise. The guys who actually shift out of the friend zone are the ones who start building an actual full life outside of her. New goals, new people, new experiences that have nothing to do with earning her attention. And the shift in her perception happens as a side effect of that, not as the goal of it. You can't chase a side effect directly. You have to build the thing that produces it and let it produce it. One more thing worth naming here, because guys here pull back and immediately overcorrect into something that looks like coldness, and coldness is just neediness wearing a different costume. Going silent for a week, leaving her on, read out of some strategy you read online, acting distant on purpose so she misses you. None of that is the same as what we're talking about. That's still centered entirely on her reaction. It's still a performance aimed at her. It's just a performance in the opposite direction. Real recalibration doesn't look like a strategy from the outside because it isn't one. It looks like a guy who genuinely has other things going on, who isn't tracking her read receipts or timing his replies to the minute, who would be completely fine if she texted back in 5 minutes or 5 hours because his week doesn't revolve around her phone. The difference between manipulation and authentic change is whether the behavior would still make sense if she never noticed it at all. If you'd only pull back because you're hoping she clocks it, that's a tactic, and tactics have a shelf life. If you'd pull back regardless because you're actually busy building something real, that's just who you are now, and that's the version nothing can see through. Now, I'll be straight with you, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes the role was set too early, cast so firmly in the first few weeks that no amount of recalibration months later changes the casting. or she's just genuinely not attracted to you in that way. And no version of you, no matter how ambitious or unpredictable, will change that, because attraction has variables that have nothing to do with your character. And that's okay, because the version of you that comes out the other side of doing this right, the version who stopped performing availability and started building an actual grounded life, that guy doesn't need this one specific girl to feel like a catch. He just is one with or without her validation. So whether it works with her or not, you don't come out of this worse off. You come out of it as the guy other women start noticing anyway, the guy who stopped auditioning for the role of safe and started just living like the answer. If you're realizing right now that you've been doing the overly available, overly agreeable thing with more than just her, that it's actually a pattern in how you show up with women in general, not a one-time mistake, but a default setting, that's worth fixing at the root instead of patching one relationship at a time. I made a whole video on the exact habits that make women see you as an option instead of a fallback. Go watch that one next.